Something has been happening to you lately, and you have been afraid to tell anyone what it is. Changes. Inside changes. The things that mattered to you for 50 years suddenly do not, and things you never noticed suddenly matter enormously. You cry at things that never touched you before. You cannot tolerate the television you used to watch all evening. Something in you now finds it unbearable, and you could not explain why. Old certainties have gone soft under your feet, beliefs you held your whole life without examining, and now you find yourself questioning things a person your age is supposed to have settled. You want solitude in ways you never did, and crowds you used to enjoy now feel like sandpaper. Strange moments of enormous feeling arrive out of nowhere, standing at the window, driving nowhere special, a fullness or an ache too big for the moment holding it. And your family has noticed, some of it, and they have that little concerned look now, and maybe someone has already said the word, the careful modern word that maybe you should get checked, and late at night you have wondered it yourself in the fearful hour, the question you have never said out loud, am I losing my mind? Tonight I am going to answer that question, and I want you to hear the answer with your whole chest. First, the caution I always give, because I love this audience honestly. If your changes come with true confusion, with lost time, with forgetting the faces of your people, honor your body and see your doctor, that is the way, always. But that is not what most of you have. What most of you have is something the modern world has no name for, and so it reaches for its only word, decline, and it is wrong. My people have a name for what is happening to you. They have had a name for it for 1,000 generations, and they watched for it in every person who reached your age. And when the signs appeared, hear me, they did not worry. They rejoiced. Because in the old understanding, what you are going through is not the mind breaking down. It is the second birth, the awakening that comes, when it comes at all, only in the later seasons, only to some. And tonight I am going to give you the 5 signs of it, so that you can stop being afraid of the most important thing that has ever happened to you. The first sign you are waking up and not breaking down is that the old wants have died and it feels like loss. Look at what has been falling away from you. The ambitions that drove you for decades gone quiet. The need to win the argument, to be right, to be seen as successful, to keep up the appearances you kept up for 50 years, all of it draining away like water into sand. And the modern world reads this exactly backward, hear me, exactly backward. Your family sees you caring less about the things everyone cares about, and they read decline, loss of engagement, and you have felt it as loss too, because when a want that drove you for 50 years dies, there is an emptiness where it lived. And emptiness frightens people. Now hear the old reading. My grandmother compared it to the tree in autumn. She said, "Grandson, watch what the tree does when its season deepens. It lets go, and the letting go is not the tree failing. Hear this, the falling leaves are not a sickness. The tree is pulling its life back from the show, back from the display, back into the trunk and the root, into the deep parts, because the deep parts are what winter requires, and the show was never going to survive winter anyway. A person waking up does exactly this. The life pulls back from the display, from the ambitions and appearances and arguments. All of it show, all of it leaves and gathers into the trunk, into what is actually essential. And from the outside, from your family's kitchen, this looks like a person diminishing. It is a person concentrating. The wants did not die because your fire is going out, my friend. They died because your fire is done heating the street and has come home to heat the house. Mark the first sign. And I watched a family almost lose this teaching, so hear the story, because it may be your family's story. A woman I knew in her late 60s began the second birth, and her grown children grew alarmed. She had stepped back from the clubs she once ran, stopped fussing over the house that had been her showpiece, gave away, this frightened them most, gave away boxes of things she had spent a lifetime collecting, and she was quieter, and she sat outside more, and they gathered in worried kitchens saying the things worried families say. Mom is giving up. Mom is declining. Somebody should talk to somebody. And it happened that one of the daughters, before any appointments were made, sat down with her mother on the porch and, instead of studying her like a patient, simply asked her, plainly, "Mom, are you all right? You seem so different." And the mother laughed, and the daughter told me later it was the laugh that stopped her, because it was not a fading woman's laugh. And the mother said, "Honey, I have never been better in my life. I spent 40 years polishing things, running things, keeping things up, and one day I understood that none of it was ever the point, and I set it down. I am not disappearing, honey. I am arriving. You are watching me arrive." And the daughter, to her lasting credit, believed her, and called off the family worry, and the last years of that woman's life were, by every account including her own, the richest ones she had, and her children got to witness an arrival instead of managing a decline. The same events, my friend, the same porch, the same quiet, the same boxes given away. The only thing that changed was the reading. Keep this story for the day your family gathers in the worried kitchen. Better yet, hand them this video. Some of them are not ready to hear it. But one of them, like that daughter, might be. Before I share the next teaching, I need to tell you something. I am not going to be here forever. And most of what I know was never written anywhere. So I sat down and I wrote it, all of it, 20 teachings, 4 parts, in the order they were meant to be received. The ones about the second birth and its seasons. The ones about what the awakening asks of you once it begins. The ones I have never said on camera. It is called The Native Way, and it costs less than one dinner you will not remember. Scan the code on your screen or look in the comments, but do not leave yet, because the second sign is the one that has your family most worried, and when I explain what is actually happening, you are going to stop apologizing for it forever. The second sign is that you cannot stand what you used to tolerate, and it keeps surprising you. The television, I said it already, but hear the full list because it is a pattern. The gossip you used to sit through politely, something in you now stands up inside when it starts. The noise, the crowds, the small talk, the empty gatherings, the certain conversations that circle the same drain for the 1,000th time, the cruelty and entertainment that everyone else laughs at, all of it has become, almost physically, intolerable to you, and it happened fast. And you have wondered if you are becoming difficult, rigid, intolerant in your age. Hear the old understanding. You are not becoming intolerant, you are becoming accurate. My grandmother explained it with the drum. She said, "A drum that is loose can be pounded all day, and it complains about nothing. Because it is loose, it has no true note to defend. But tighten that drum toward its true note, grandson, tune it, and suddenly it cannot bear the wrong strikes. The truer the drum, the less falseness it can tolerate. That is not the drum becoming difficult. That is the drum becoming itself. For 50 years, my friend, you were loose enough to absorb everything, the noise, the gossip, the emptiness. It all just thudded into you, and you tolerated it because there was no tuned string in you to violate. The awakening tunes you. And a tuned person feels every false note in the room, feels it in the body. The gossip lands wrong, the cruelty lands wrong, the noise lands wrong. And what you have been calling your growing intolerance is actually your growing tune. So stop apologizing for it. Leave the gatherings early. Turn the poison off. Excuse yourself from the drain-circling conversations kindly and let them call you difficult if they must. Because hear the truth. The loose drums have always called the tuned ones difficult. You are not difficult. You are, for the first time in your life, in tune, and falseness has finally started sounding like what it always was. The third sign is that enormous feeling breaks through at strange moments, and you cannot control when. This is the one that frightens people most, so lean in. The tears at the commercial, the sudden ache at the sunset, the wave of something vast standing in the garden, the grief that surfaces 20 years late, the love for your people that arrives sometimes with such force it stops your breath, and none of it scheduled, none of it convenient, all of it bigger than the moments that trigger it. And the fearful hour reads this as instability, the mind losing its grip, the emotions slipping their leash. Now hear what my people knew, and hear it as fact, because I have taught pieces of this before, and tonight it becomes whole. Your entire adult life, there was a dam. It was built early, most dams are, built to hold back everything a working, striving, raising, surviving person could not afford to feel. And it held, my friend. It held for 50 years. The griefs went behind it. The wonder went behind it. Wonder, too, hear that. The dam does not sort. It holds back the terrible and the beautiful alike, because full feeling of any kind was more than the busy decades could carry. And the awakening, the second birth, begins with the dam coming down. Not breaking, hear the difference. Coming down. On schedule, because the holding was for the working seasons, and the working seasons are over. And everything behind the dam, the unfelt griefs and the unfelt beauty, 50 years of it is coming through now, in waves at commercials and sunsets and gardens, out of order, unscheduled, exactly the way water moves when a dam is lowered. You are not unstable, my friend. You are draining a reservoir, and the reservoir is 50 years deep, and every strange wave that comes through you is old inventory, finally being felt by the only person who can feel it, finally being released by the only one holding it. The old ones expected this season. They honored it. They said the tears of the old are the sweetest water because they have been kept the longest. So when the wave comes, at the commercial, at the window, in the garden, do not fight it down the way you have fought everything down for 50 years. That fighting was the dam's work, and the dam is retired. Let the wave through, all the way through, and notice on the other side of it what the fighters never learn. The wave does not drown you. It washes you, and it leaves. And what it leaves behind is lighter than what it found. Mark the third sign, and let them come. The fourth sign is that you have started seeing through things you believed your whole life. This one takes courage to say out loud, so I will say it for you. Lately, quietly, you have been questioning. Not everything, and not into emptiness, hear me. But the questioning has begun. Some of the rules you kept your whole life you now see were never laws, just customs, just fences somebody built before you were born, and you obeyed them for 70 years without once checking what they were protecting. Some of what you were taught to want, you now see was planted in you by people selling something. Some of the judgments you carried about kinds of people, about right ways to live, have gone soft in your hands, and you find yourself at this late age more open than you were at 30, gentler toward difference, less certain about the certainties. And it has unsettled you because you were taught that age hardens conviction, and yours is doing the opposite, and you have wondered if even your beliefs are coming loose like everything else. Hear the old understanding. There is a difference between a mind coming loose and a mind coming clear. The loose mind loses its grip on everything and drifts. The clearing mind loses its grip on what was never true, and hear this part, holds harder than ever to what is. Check yourself against that test tonight. Your love has not loosened, it has deepened. Your kindness has not drifted, it has widened. What is falling from you is only the borrowed things, the customs, the judgments, the planted wants, the fences, all the furniture other people moved into your mind before you were old enough to guard the door. The awakening clears the house, my friend. It carries out what was never yours. And the emptiness you feel in some of those rooms is not loss. It is space, cleared at last for what you actually know, which is love and mercy and the few true things standing out now like furniture in an emptied room, unmistakable, finally, in the clearing. The old ones said the last season sees farthest. This is what they meant. Mark the fourth sign. And the fifth sign, the one that crowns the others, is that something in you has begun turning toward the sacred, and it will not turn back. It may not use religious words, this turning. It may look like the pull toward silence I have taught about, the sunrises you suddenly need, the strange new hunger for meaning, the questions arriving in the night hours. What was it all for? What is left to do? What comes after? Questions you outran for 50 busy years, now walking calmly at your side. It may look like talking to the Creator in your own words while your hands work, or the sense, growing, unshakable, that something enormous is near the ordinary world, just behind the light, just under the silence, closer than it used to be. And the fearful reading calls this morbidity, preoccupation, the mind circling the drain of its own ending. Hear the old reading, and hear it in my grandmother's own words, because she gave this teaching to me directly, near her own end, when I asked her carefully whether her thoughts turned toward death. And she laughed, my friend. She laughed the way she laughed at questions that were built wrong. And she said, "Grandson, you have it backward, the way the fearful always do. The salmon in the river, when the turning comes, does it circle a drain? It turns toward home, everything in it turns at once, and it swims upstream. Against the current it swam down as a youngster, back toward the waters it came from. And the turning is not its death, hear me. The turning is the deepest aliveness of its whole life, every scale of it lit up with purpose, going home." That is the fifth sign, grandson, she said. When the person begins turning toward the sacred, when the silence starts calling and the questions come and the enormous thing draws near the ordinary, the family thinks the person is fading, and the old ones knew the person was homing. It is the strongest sign of all, and the least understood, and the ones who fight it suffer, and the ones who turn with it, she said, and here she looked at me with those eyes I still see. The ones who turn with it get to live the last stretch the way the salmon swims it upstream, lit up, entirely alive, all the way home. So there are the 5 signs. The dying of the old wants, the tree pulling into the trunk, the new intolerance for falseness, the drum coming into tune, the dam coming down, the sweetest water, the clearing of the borrowed beliefs, the house emptied down to the true furniture, and the turning toward the sacred, the salmon homing. Count them, and if they are yours, hear the verdict of tonight, spoken as plainly as I can speak it. You are not losing your mind. You are undergoing the most important passage a human being can undergo, the one my people prepared for their whole lives, the one the modern world has so completely forgotten that it meets the second birth with a doctor's appointment. And because the world forgot, you have been going through a sacred passage alone, and frightened and apologizing for it, and tonight that ends. From tonight, you know what this is. So stop fighting the changes. They are the path. Let the leaves fall, let the drum tune, let the old water through. Let the borrowed furniture go out the door, and turn, my friend, turn all the way toward what is calling, and swim. And when the family gives you the concerned look, you can smile now, the way my grandmother smiled, because you know something they will not know for 30 more years. You are not fading. You are further upstream than they are. And the water up here, I promise you, the water up here is clear and cold and shining, and it tastes like coming home. Welcome to the second birth, my friend. It has been waiting for you your whole life, and so, though you never knew it, have you. If what you heard today stayed with you, the book is there. The Native Way, 20 teachings, 100 pages, written the way I would speak to you if we were sitting together. Scan the QR code on the screen with your phone or find the link in the comments. Read 1 chapter. Sit with it. Now I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, which of the 5 signs is happening in you right now, and how long have you been afraid of it? I read every comment. And if this is the kind of conversation you have been looking for, subscribe to this channel. We are not collecting viewers here. We are collecting people who remember. Come back next week. I am not done teaching yet.